This is the Planetary Potential Podcast for those who are eager to explore entrepreneurship, innovation, and cross-cultural communication in exciting and interesting places around the world. And now, here's your host, Andrew P. Rowan.
Welcome to Episode 2 of Season 1. If you've ever been curious about agriculture, cooperatives, organic farming, or farm production economics, then this is the interview you've been waiting for. I sit down with Professor Manuel Lopez of the University of Piura to learn more about his activities at the university, the advantages of growing food in the desert, as well as real-world examples of comparative advantages between different types of crops. We also touch upon previous migration waves to Peru, including from Japan and China, and examine the state of the current influx of refugees and economic migrants originating from Venezuela. An important reminder that opinions shared on this episode are those of individual guests. For more information, please visit www.andrewprowan.com/disclosures. I was introduced to Professor Lopez by colleagues at Agribusiness, the incubator at the University of Piura, and we had the opportunity to get to know each other better over lunch before he invited me to give a talk to his class about the Vietnamese enterprise ecosystem. Piura is located near the coast and also near the border with Ecuador, so let's head there now to start the interview with Professor Lopez. With me is Manuel Lopez. He's a professor in the Department of Industrial Engineering at the University of Piura, which is in Peru. And we are on campus at the University of Piura, which is a gorgeous campus, especially because we are in Building E, which has been open for about 2 or 3 years and has won some international awards. It is a stunning example of architecture. So if you ever get the chance to visit, you should definitely come check it out. Welcome, Professor Lopez.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your visit here in the University of Piura in Peru. Thank you for this opportunity to talk something about what we are doing here in Piura. I am Manuel Lopez. I am forest engineer, and I am here in Piura for 4 years. This is my 4th year here in Piura. I came from Bogota, where I was working, and I came to open a new program in a master degree in agribusiness. This is my main issue here in the University of Piura. And now I am the Director of Innovation in the university too.
So Professor Lopez and we met earlier last week, and it was through my work here with Agribusiness, which is an incubator at the University of Piura. It's been open for about 2 years, and my work here with them is supported by the Swiss Entrepreneurship Program. So I've been here for a little over a week, and then I'll be returning to Lima, the capital. And so I have taken this opportunity to get to know Professor Lopez a little bit better. I gave a presentation about the Vietnamese ecosystem to his class 2 days ago, and was surprised to see that some folks knew the connection between Viettel in Vietnam and Bitel, which is a subsidiary of Viettel here in Peru. Apparently, it is one of the most economical telecommunications providers in Peru, and it was favorably spoken about, in fact, as one of the state-owned enterprises that is kind of bucking the stereotype of being this staggering behemoth that is not so agile. So Viettel has been here for about 4 years. There are stores. If you've seen a Viettel store in Vietnam, it looks pretty much like a Viettel store here in Peru, which I found surprising because it's the only market that Viettel is active in South America. Also active in a few markets in Africa as well. So we're here on campus, which it's a wonderful immersion of both a space that's used by humans and space that's used by the original inhabitants, animals. And one of the absolute joys of my time here has been the mild interaction I've had with the deer and birds, and so different from deer that I'm used to in the U.S., for example, that are afraid of you. The deer here, they seem to have no fear, which I think is a sign that they're taken well care of by the community. And quite surprising to see how much bird life there is here. At times, the birds just overpower your senses when you're walking around campus. That being said, it is a desert, and this is, in fact, a special year for the university because it's the 50th anniversary. So imagine creating something in the desert 50 years ago, and now you have this beautiful campus.
I'm happy that you like this campus because you know that we have transformed from the desert to this kind of dry forest.
Mm. Can you tell me a bit about some of your portfolio projects that you have among your responsibilities?
Yes, of course. In the agribusiness issue, we have a master program, and now we are developing some research lines, especially in the part of automatization of agro-industrial processes. We are trying to develop some improvements in, for example, the transport of organic banana inside of the fields. Organic banana here in Piura was developed for more than 6,000 of small farmers, and they have very little farms. They have maybe 1 or 2 acres per family.
Mm-hmm.
And in this space, they produce the organic banana. And at the beginning, they only sell the banana to the big companies that export the banana. But now many of these small farmers has organized, and now they have some kind of cooperatives or associations. And if you sell your product as a small farmer, you won't have good prices. You have a lot of extra costs in your production. But now, as associations, they have a better scale to export their products. There are some associations that now they are exporting directly. No, at the beginning they sell all their production to the exporters, but now they are exporting directly the containers with FOB price to the big companies. And we are working with this kind of producers because we think that in the future, with big companies, because now there are some big companies that are producing organic banana here.
Yeah.
Then we think that in the future, they won't be competitive with these big companies because, they have 1 acre in different places.
Yeah.
And their costs, their logistic costs, the supply chain costs.
Yes.
Are very expensive if you compare with the big companies that they have 100 hectares or maybe 130 acres.
Yeah.
Or more. Then, we have to do something with these small producers.
So there are many redundancies that small producers have then, because with the larger producers, they have, of course, economies of scale.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit more about these farm producers that you mentioned? Are they just here in the northern region, or are they throughout the country? And how have they been able to establish relationships outside of the country and facilitate the export of their product directly?
Yeah, here in Piura, we have a special conditions, climate conditions. We are near to the equator, but we have a dry climate. Then in humid climates in Central America, in Ecuador, in Colombia, they can produce banana, but not much organic banana because they have this humid climate and they have a lot of diseases that attack the banana.
I see.
But here we have a dry climate.
Yeah.
Then there is a special disease to the bananas that is the cigatoca negra. It's a kind of fungus that attack the banana. Then all the producers around the world have problems with this fungus, and they have to apply some chemicals to avoid the attack of this. But here we are in a desert region. We are in a dry region.
Right.
And we don't have this problem.
Right. You don't have the humidity that contributes to the growth.
Then we can grow organic banana because we don't have to use these kind of chemicals products to reduce the attack of this. And for that reason, Piura and the south of Ecuador we have a very special conditions to produce organic banana, not the conventional banana, because Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia, Dominican Republic, they have a lot of banana, but those are conventional production.
Yeah.
We have organic banana that it goes to special markets. You understand?
Yeah. So to be clear, when you say organic banana, you mean naturally grown without the use of any sort of growth stimulants or any sort of protectors to help with the fungus that you mentioned? Or
yes.
is it an organic certification whereby a third party comes in and certifies the produce?
They have organic certifications. Then there are some products that they are able to use, but those are natural products or bio products, something like that, but not chemical products.
Okay.
And the main fertilizer here for this production is compost.
Compost, yeah.
Compost and humus is like with a kind of I don't know how to say this in
Spanish. What was the name?
Lombriz, humus de lombriz.
Snails?
Son unos gusanos, las lombrices.
Worms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then they consume the organic waste and they produce a kind of
earthworm.
Earthworms. The humus and all the main fertilization for this production of banana is with compost. Organic fertilization.
Huh.
There are some products to avoid some kind of attacks, but those are part of the certificated system.
And so those naturally grown bananas, those are all for the export market. They're not for the domestic market.
No.
So I won't be able to find them here.
You can find it because you know that when you have the better quality goes to the international markets, but there are some quality that don't go to the international market and they sell here in national market. But you know that the price, it's not the same that in Germany, that's one of our first consumer. US, Germany and Holland are our first consumers of our organic banana. Yeah.
Interesting.
Then we're working with this kind of producer because they need to improve their own technologies. Intermediate technologies.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with a kind of cables where you can put the fruit and move from the field to the packing plant without, because in the past they put the fruit on their shoulders and walk maybe 100 or include 200 meters walking with, and then it causes some damage to the fruits. But now we're implementing some kind of cables, and you put the fruits and you
pull it or push it.
You pull all the system, and the fruit goes well, and they reduce their cost of post-harvest. And this is a kind of technology that we can implement in this kind of
and it's low tech then.
Yes, it's low tech.
It's low tech.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is that you're not mechanizing a part of the process.
Not yet. We expect in the future put some kind of, in some places they develop some kind of bicycles and then go like a bicycle and go pulling the fruits. But in the future we expect to have some kind of motors. No.
What about automation? Do you expect to have the entire process automated at some point in the future?
It depends. For example, the big companies, they have all the process automatized. But of course, in the packing plant, not. In the packing plant, they need a lot of labor to select the fruits, to make some kind of treatments to pack. No,
right.
But in some countries, of course, they have all the process automatized. Here, for us, it's not necessary yet, because of course we have a low labor cost, and of course we give a lot of work to the people. We need that people work. Then if we automatize all the process, maybe we will have a lot of people without work. And then automatization is a process that we have to think about, not to do it immediately. You have to think about how to do it progressively, depending on how much you need this automatization.
Sure. Yeah. But then in that sense, the farm producers aren't able to be as competitive in terms of cost as the large farms and the managers of those farms. So how are they able to then compete with those large farms if they can't reach the same cost benefits with automation like the larger industrial farms do?
You mean how we'll be able? What's...
So you said that some of the large farm producers here in northern Peru, they have the whole process fully automated.
Yeah.
But these farms that you work with, they don't. They have some parts of the process that have some mechanization, but it's all using low tech. So, of course, the cost to them is higher than the cost for the large farm producer. So I'm wondering how they're able to compete directly with the large farm producers or different market.
At this moment, the price of the market is very good. Then the small producer have less benefits than the big ones, but they have benefits.
Okay.
No, and for it's enough. And in the other side, the small farmers has this kind of certification that is fair trade.
Fair trade
and
certified.
They receive an extra payment because they are small producers, and
I see. Okay.
And it's okay for them. But in the future, maybe in 2 years, because the last years the price is going down, then that's why we are worried about, because we think that maybe in 2 years the price, because we have now big volume of products in the market, because there are some big companies planting here and in Colombia and in Costa Rica and in Ecuador organic banana. We don't believe those are organic banana because I explained you why here we can do it.
Yeah.
But there are a high offer of organic banana in the market, then the price is going down.
Sure.
And we expect that maybe in 2 years, if this trend continue, we'll have a price that where this small producer won't be competitive. For that reason, we have to work now and think about how to associate these companies, how to create some kind of trade cooperatives, how to improve the the supply chain, how to reduce some costs in the production. Then we have to think about that now, because if we don't do that, in 2 years we will have a lot of small producers without production or without competitiveness now in front of the market.
Yeah. So what was it like at first working with the small farms and trying to, were they interested in that idea at first? Were they somewhat apprehensive? Did they not really understand what they were being offered? Or was it something in between where they realized there was more benefits with greater numbers and they wanted to move in that direction?
The organic banana began its production here after the El Niño phenomenon of 1998.
Okay.
The government put some areas with organic banana, and from this year, the area of organic banana has increased a lot. And then we have 20 years of organic banana here in Piura. And maybe the first 10 years was difficult to organize the small producers.
Okay.
But after 10 years, when they see that it's possible to work together and to get this kind of associations and cooperatives, it changed. Now we have the main exporters of organic banana are associations of small producers.
Wow.
Now, this year, till 2018, we know that this year large companies will be the bigger exporters of banana. But we expect that now it's possible. Now, because of a lot of small producers has seen that to work organized and in associations or cooperatives has functioned, then they want to work in that way. No?
And I expect it also must be easier if you're trying to do the same with other fruit producers, because then you can point to the banana growers and say, well, look at the clear benefits for them over the period of 20 years. In that sense, are there other fruit industries that you're looking to target to help?
In that sense, the next one, it should be mangoes.
Mangoes.
Yeah, because in mangoes you have small producers too, you have mid-sized producers too, but they are very disorganized. Completely disorganized. It's a terrible market.
Yeah.
There are a lot of
intermediaries
that
resellers they buy it and they
buy at low cost and sell. There are a lot of exporters that it's very disordered area, and we think that we have to translate some of the model of organization that we have in organic banana to the mangoes.
I see.
This is the next one. Maybe lemons is the other one.
Yeah.
But not yet, because uva, the grapes, table grapes, those were planted by large companies.
Got it. And as I understand, Korean companies. Korean,
maybe there's, I think there is a Chinese company and a Korean company maybe, but the Chileans, from Chile.
Chileans, yeah.
We have the bigger one is a Chilean company called Rappel. They have almost 2,000 of hectares of table grape here in Piura.
2,000 hectares.
Yeah. Ecosac is Peruvian and Piura company. They have 1,300. And the other one is Chilean, or half Chilean, half Peruvian, is El Pedregal. They have more than 1,000 of hectares of grapes, table grape too.
So there are about 4 or 5 main companies with table grapes then.
There are more. Those
are the main ones.
Yeah, the main ones, there are those 3, but I think it could be maybe 12 companies with table grapes.
Okay, I'm a bit curious if there's an issue with the overuse of pesticides here in farming. And, well, for example, in Vietnam, there is a huge issue with the overuse of pesticides. Farmers there often think that the more that they use pesticides, the better it is to try and kill the bugs that are bothering the growth of their crops. Along those lines, also, there, I think, is kind of a lack of education in terms of agricultural know-how, in the sense that, for example, I recall a Fulbright scholar who had done some work in Hanoi shared with me that the coffee producers did not like bees because they thought that the bees were killing their crops, which was astonishing to me. And then I remember also reading an article about shrimp farming in Vietnam, and somebody had asked the shrimp farmers, well, where do you think the shrimp come from? And the response was, well, the shrimp, they come from the ground. They're grown from the ground. And this to me seemed quite puzzling, especially when you have your livelihood that's relying on these kinds of crops. Back to my original question, which is there an issue here with the overuse of pesticides and lack or limited educational information on the best practices when it comes to agriculture?
Of course. Well, all of these crops are for export. Then we are down the supervision of the international market. You can have some companies that have 9 certifications: Nescale, Walmart, Global Gap. Every market wants a kind of certifications, and we have to have all the certifications because we want to export to these countries.
Sure.
Then, in those crops for exportation, we don't have that kind of problems because, if you have a table grape in United Kingdom, they are going to look what have. No, you understand?
They're going to inspect it.
Yeah, you inspect. If they receive something out of the law, they're going to
Reject.
reject the container, and we don't want that.
Sure.
But we have some problems with organic banana because sometimes there are some small producers that apply something.
Mm.
And we have had some problems in the market. They supervise and they reject. And it's bad for our image as a country exporting fruits. For that reason, we are working a lot to conscientize people that they don't have to do that. In mangoes, we have some kind of problems. Stable grade, no, because, there are some big companies and they are very disciplined, strict about that. Especially in mango, because they are so disordered. I told you about that. And in banana, some small producers that don't fall. But our main problem with this kind of products is the rice.
Okay.
We have a lot of rice here in Piura. You can imagine, we are in the desert. We don't have a lot of water, and we grow a lot of rice here. We have almost 70,000 of hectares of rice here in Piura. It's the crop that have the most area. And the rice production is completely disordered.
Really?
Yeah. Nobody controls the production of rice. There are a lot of people producing rice, and maybe the ministry, but our ministries are not good in supervising some kind of process. And in rice, we have this problem of salinization. We have the problem of the excessive use of some kind of pesticides.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So again, to contrast to Vietnam, also a major rice producer in the world. About half of the rice in Vietnam is grown in the Mekong Delta in the southern part of the country. And there's also an increasing salination issue due to rising sea level and the damming of the Mekong River. The interesting thing about increased salination is that at first you can grow shrimp because of the salination. So some rice farmers have also focused on shrimp farming. But after a certain point, you can't grow anything. Because it just becomes too salty. And so I'm curious what the salination problem is that you have here.
Well, those soils are naturally salt.
They're naturally salty.
Okay. Natural salt. We are near to the sea. This wind have salt.
Oh, okay. So the wind carries the salt particle.
The wind, the soil, and sometimes you have to give a lot of water to the rice areas, and the water pouch the subsoil water, underground water
from the water table.
And in the low part of the valley near to the sea, they have this kind of problem because the underground water near to the sea has some kind of salt
water. It seeps into the water table.
Okay. Then the salt ascends and got the surface of the soil.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah. So what you're saying is that near the coast, because we're not that far, the salt water seeps into the water table, and the salt rises up to the surface, and that's when it contaminates the soil, the topsoil that's used for the growth of rice. And so what's one solution?
We are trying to change the crop. Because the cost of produce rice here is higher than import rice from China or from Vietnam or from Philippines.
Okay.
The cost production is high because we don't have water, because they have to apply a lot of products. For Peru, it's better to import rice.
Because you're growing rice in the desert, right?
Yeah, of course. We don't have water. We produce rice here in the north of Peru, and in the jungle in San Martin is another region. But it's in the Amazon basin, and they have a lot of water.
So there's more humidity over there.
But they have to move the rice from the Amazon area to the coast. Most of the population is in the coast, and they have to go through the Andes.
Okay.
Then the cost to have rice from San Martin in the coast is higher than have rice from Philippines or Vietnam. And the cost of production, of course, here is higher than that country. And we eat a lot of rice. We eat a lot of rice. Because it's kind of our culture that we catch from the Chinese immigration in 19th century and Japanese immigration in 19th century. And the rice comes to get in Peru.
Yeah.
But we are not good producers of rice because of the cost and because we don't have water.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people living from the rice production. Sure. Then it's a social conflict, a social and environmental conflict. Because we grow rice in the desert. But the only solution is change the crop.
So change the crop.
Banana
Yeah.
is maybe one of the examples, because some areas that were rice production changed banana. And now these producers are banana exporters.
Yeah.
And they have better incomes. They have a crop that don't generate salinization.
Yeah.
They improve their lives.
Interesting.
But you have still 70,000 of hectares with rice. Then we have to change to another products for exportation for local market, but different than the rice.
That's really interesting that here in this area, there's a high production cost, but low logistical costs. Whereas in San Martin, there is a lower production cost, but there's a higher logistical cost to get it over here. So you're basically saying that there should be more efforts to changing away from rice crops to something else like bananas, export more bananas and import more rice, because then everyone would benefit at that point. Really, really interesting. And just quickly to note about the Chinese and Japanese migration, if you haven't been to Peru and you do visit, or if you have visited, you'll notice something called chifas.
Yeah.
And this is a mix of Chinese and Peruvian cuisine.
Yeah.
It's akin to Chinese food in the U.S., although with Peruvian flair. And frankly, I haven't had it enough to really tell you what are the key differences between chifas and Chinese food, other than everyone tells me that chifas taste a lot better here in Peru. But the influence is definitely noticeable here, I'd say, from those waves. And today, the current influence that I see in terms of migration is from Venezuela.
Yeah.
And the Venezuelans here, you notice them as waiters in restaurants. They are wearing backpacks in the streets with all their worldly possessions in them. And then, of course, if you speak to everyday Peruvians, they'll let you know what their opinion is of what's been happening with the Venezuelan migration crisis in recent years. Wondering what the impact of them has been on the local agricultural market, because as you mentioned before, the lack of mechanization, lack of automation in the farm processes enables there to be the employment of more workers.
Yeah.
As I understand, some of the Venezuelans have undercut Peruvian workers in terms of wages, for example, because they don't have the full rights to work in Peru.
No.
They are hired under the table in some cases, and therefore they don't earn the legal monthly salary that is required.
Yeah.
Curious if also there's an issue of this in the farm industry, whereby you have laborers who are seasonal workers, perhaps, or they're year-round workers who are Peruvians. But now with this influx of Venezuelans, if you're a producer, if you're management, you're able to cut your labor rates costs by half, or maybe even a third or two-thirds as a result of this influx of labor.
I have no data about how the companies are paying to the Venezuelans. But I know that this last campaign in table grape, in mangoes, and in banana, table grapes and mango and arándanos, blueberries, that they are hire a lot of Venezuelans. Not much, but you know that at the beginning, the most of immigrants were professionals and
Yes.
But now they are coming non-professional people.
Everyday people.
Then they ask for work in every activity they find. Then agriculture is especially from December to or maybe November to February here in the north. You have mangoes, you have table grapes, you have the arándanos, and you have banana, of course.
And that's during the summer here.
Yeah. During the summer, it's the season of harvest. Then this year, I know that there were a lot of Venezuelans working now in the harvest labors. But I don't know if it is structural. I mean, I don't know if it would be always because the Venezuelans are passing by Peru. I know that, well, because I have talked with a lot of people, the most of them are thinking about Chile and Argentina and Brazil. No.
So you're saying you've spoken to Venezuelans and you asked them, where are you heading toward?
Yeah.
What is your goal?
Yeah. Most of the Venezuelans are thinking in going to Chile, Argentina, and Brazil.
And why is that specific?
Because the quality of life in those countries are better than in Peru.
Okay.
No. And they think in Peru as a step to their
transit.
Transit point. The most of, I don't know what's the percentage, but most of the people who I talked with told me something like that. In my house in Lima, in my parents' house, they have two girls, Venezuelan girls, working in the house and in a restaurant, and they told us that. Of course, now they went to Chile, no, to Argentina. Now they are living in Argentina.
Okay.
And when they went, they called to their their friends and tell, hey, I have work in Argentina, come
to Argentina.
Yeah, of course. It's a kind of network that is moving from Venezuela to Chile and Argentina, I think.
Interesting, because I also have interacted with some Venezuelans, not just here in Piura, but in Lima, the capital, as well. Just this weekend, in fact, I met a Venezuelan mother and her son, and they were trying to sell gum. And I, just like you, struck up a conversation with her and asked her, how did you choose to come to Piura? How did you end up here in Piura? And she had transited through Ecuador to come here.
Yeah, of course.
Specifically because she has a cousin who's in Piura.
Yeah.
So that's it aligns exactly with what you're saying, is that there's this network. Somebody ends up in one location, kind of scopes it out, and then says, okay, things are better here, come through.
Yeah.
That being said, the woman, her name was Carolina, did tell me that the government here at the federal level was supportive in the sense that they're issued visas here, and then also the government was providing food for her son Jose, which I found interesting. But there's also what I sense to be a very clear divide between Peruvian society and Venezuelans who are on the fringe of that society. On one hand, you're right that they're not all professionals. The professional ones left months or even years ago. And those who could, they flew directly to the U.S. Because I've met some there in New York City.
Florida.
Or even Florida as well. I think the underlying factor, though, is that the people who have emigrated from Venezuela are ones who are in search of a better life.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think that's in dispute.
Yeah, no, I think the situation is hard. Sometimes one doubt about what news say, but when you talk with the people that's coming, you know that what's happening is terrible. No, because you don't leave your country because a hobby. No.
Yeah.
There must be a very strong reason why those people is leaving their country.
Yeah.
Then on for that reason, I think that all that the news show is near to the truth.
Yeah, agreed. If things are comfortable where you are, it's not going to compel you to leave everything behind, friends, family, your community, and go somewhere else. I'm in complete agreement with you. Wondering, before we close, if there's anything you would like to share that I didn't ask you about, whether it's on your work here or the university or the city or the country.
Yeah, of course. Well, Peru is a developing country. I come from Bogota. That is a very beautiful city, very cosmopolitan city. And for me, it was a little hard to come to Piura because for me, it's a low developed city. It's a kind
500,000 people here.
Yeah. It's kind of town, a big town. Then we have a lot of challenges to include to be attractive to the investors. 2 years ago, one person from the World Bank come and say, you want that the big companies come to invest in Piura, you have to improve your city. Your city don't have quality life because of the disorder, the garbage, the noise.
Yeah,
you have living in Vietnam, and you are you have the motos and the motorcycles.
Right.
But for me, it's not good for a city. Yeah. And then this man from World Bank said us, you have to improve the quality of life in your city, and it's one of the things that here in the University of Piura are thinking about too, how that the engineers, the entrepreneurs from here have to think how to improve the quality of life here in Piura. The other challenge we have, especially in the city. That's, I think.
Yeah, and so one of the takeaways of my time in Vietnam was that within the challenges are the opportunities.
Yeah.
Because someone or many people will have to come up with the solutions. And I think what's particularly reassuring is that those challenges aren't unique to places like Piura. So if you can develop those solutions, then you can export them abroad or even within the region, here in northern Peru and also Latin America. Or if there's any technology that results from trying to discover solutions, you can license it as well. And I think that's something that is hard to realize when you don't travel or you stay in a small town. You also have experience in Asia, in Japan, and it's a very different perspective that you have being on the other side of the world, so to speak. With that, unfortunately, we have to close, but I want to thank you, Professor Lopez, for your time and, of course, for sharing your knowledge and for the invitation to speak to your class. I hope some of them take the initiative and visit Vietnam, even if it's as a tourist,
of course.
and realize that actually there are some things that are more in common than they appear to be. And, well, good luck with your efforts for mango. I'm a big fan of mangoes, but I think the Mexican mangoes have my...
You have to try the mangoes here.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
I'm appreciative of Professor Lopez's examples that he highlighted for the variety of topics we discussed, as well as his frank assessment on the need for improving the quality of life in Piura in order to attract more foreign direct investment to the city and the surrounding area, especially in industries beyond farming. Certainly, community leaders like Professor Lopez can and do make a positive impact in both industry as well as preparing the next generation of young leaders. Next week, I'll have my last interview in Piura before heading back to Lima, Peru's capital. In the meantime, feel free to reach out directly to me if you'd like to learn more information about the Planetary Potential podcast, or if you'd like to learn more about upcoming interviews. Thank you.